Welcome to the Gonzo Chronicles. I'm your host, Cyrus Alderwood, the official spokesman for Generation X. Stick around. It's going to get weird, as always. Oh, well, my God, welcome back to another Gonzo Chronicles. Hey, it's been a minute. I don't know. Has anything new happened in the world? Was there any news out there? I don't know. What did I miss? Like an election? Syria collapsing? France's government collapsing? What else did I miss? Oh, yeah. Some recent congressional hearings have intensified the UFO discussions on UAPs, or unidentified aerial phenomenon, also known as UFOs. So anyway, I started looking up and got some information from the key highlights of some of these things. Really fascinating stuff. I did get to watch some of the hearings, but I didn't get to watch all of the hearings. But there were some testimonies from former officials and whistleblowers. David Gresh was there and made his claims. There was a military pilot that was there, talked about his encounters. They talked about government transparency and, I guess, accountability. Brought up the Pentagon's positions. They talked about public reactions and speculations, things like that. So there was a lot going on with these alien testimonies. So let's jump into it just for a few minutes here before we get on to the next holiday. By the way, I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. Mine was great. I got to hang out with a bunch of people, ate a lot of food, and hung out with some dogs. So, does it get any better than hanging out with the dogs and eating too much turkey? Probably not. Probably not. Not unless there's like a really hot chick with big cans hanging around. Didn't really have that. So, solo. Solo sucks. Anyway, testimonies from former officials and whistleblowers. David Gresh, who many of you know from, as a whistleblower, and may have seen him on several documentaries and TV shows over the past couple of years. He's a former intelligence officer. He testified that the U.S. government has operated a secretive program for decades. And he allegedly said he was retrieving and reverse engineering crashed UFOs. Or UAPs, whatever the hell you want to call them now. He also claimed that non-human biologics, that's his term, non-human biologics, were also removed from those crash sites. So, in other words, yeah, they got the little green men, the little alien bodies. And that was in press around the world, right? So there's also military pilot encounters. A retired Navy commander, David Fravor, he recounted a 2004 incident. And you know this one well from, if you've watched any of these UFO shows. He observed a tic-tac shaped object executing maneuvers beyond known human capabilities. Former Navy pilot Ryan Graves reported a regular sighting of UAPs during training missions, and he described them as dark gray or black cubes inside of clear spheres. Now that's interesting. I've never really heard or seen any video footage like that, but he got up close and personal, according to his testimony, and saw this. There was also calls for disclosure. Quite a few lawmakers that were there emphasized that there was a need for transparency and cited just a ton of different potential national security concerns. Representative Tim Burchett was one of them. He criticized excessive government secrecy and he said that that basically undermines the public trust. Well, hell, what else does the government do in any category, not just UAPs, but undermine the public trust? I mean, they can't even spend our dollars properly. Um, there was this was interesting. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, he introduced an amendment to declassify government records related to UAPs, aiming to establish some sort of a commission for reviewing and releasing such documents. I applaud the senator for doing that. However, let's just release them. Let's not give a committee that's going to continue to add to the secrecy and the lack of disclosure. That's all another commission would do, in my opinion. Um, the Pentagon actually had a bunch of denials. They denied claims of possessing extraterrestrial materials or operating secret UAP programs. Officials assert that most U.S. UAP sightings can be attributed to conventional objects or foreign surveillance equipment. That's possible, but according to the eyewitnesses, not probable. There were some recent sightings that came up. Following the hearings, there was this mysterious lights over Capitol Hill incident that was discussed. Sparked some public speculation about UFOs, but experts suggest that these could just be lens flares or reflections, not actual UAPs. There's media coverage that, the hearings from the media, I guess, the hearings had received a lot of extensive attention in various media, with discussions about implications of potential extraterrestrial life and the importance of government transparency. So those are the themes that kind of fell out into the media after that. What can you expect, though? Again, not all media is going to talk about this or cover this, but it's out there. I thought the hearings are great. It's a big step in addressing the phenomena. You balance a lot of national security interests with public demand for information, which I thought was great. But there are videos out there if you want to go on YouTube or Rumble and look for, more informative information, more in-depth, detailed information about those hearings. But the key highlights were the whistleblowers claimed that the U.S. government had long concealed UAP retrieval and reverse engineering programs. The testimony suggested that they might involve advanced non-human technology and or foreign adversary capabilities. Also, witnesses emphasized the need for transparency, reduce stigma, and really bring in scientific inquiry using tools like AI to analyze this data. That would be a good idea as well. In 2024, I just want to bring this up. In 2024, sightings in the U.S. have continued to capture public attention. And this was influenced, I guess, by the talks of the government transparency, by talks of congressional commissions, and really enhanced detection methods. Everybody these days has a cell phone to capture anything and everything. So here's some notable developments and patterns from 2024, this year. In the area of military UAP detections, following the infamous 2023, you guys remember this Chinese surveillance balloon that came across? The U.S. military expanded its radar capabilities because of that. And because of that, it led to more frequent identification of UAPs. Now, many of those were later attributed to drones or balloons or airborne debris. But some of them actually came back as unexplained. So that's really interesting. But the fact that they actually have better detection systems now to detect anything and everything, it's a good sign. Also, continued stigma reduction. The Department of Defense, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, which is called AARO, you've heard of that, AARO. They received numerous reports from pilots and military personnel and highlighted unusual flight characteristics like high speeds and unconventional maneuvering. This surge, I guess, is, according to what I read, was partly attributed to a shift in military culture that I guess encourages reporting this now. Before, a lot of people faced ridicule if they reported anything like this. So they're trying to remove the stigma and that's why we're having more people like airline, not just airline pilots, but Air Force pilots, Navy pilots, anybody coming forth to talk about this because they're not so much afraid of being ridiculed anymore. And I guess with the increased public interest, because of people like Tucker Carlson, for example, that would clearly bring this stuff up, high profile incidents and government disclosures have just been fueling more public fascination, which I think is great. Noteworthy causes in 2004, or cases, I mean to say, but this was that 2004 Tic Tac encounter that everybody got to see over the last 3 or 4 years. So that Navy footage that leaked, it's real still a pivotal ongoing investigation, but just these incidents alone showcase these wild advanced technologies, and nobody can detect the origin of them. As far as congressional oversight, these hearings have emphasized the national security implications, which are huge. Officials in the government have acknowledged that many of these phenomena are likely tied to advanced foreign technologies from nations like China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, even the European nations that are involved in some of this. India is another. But anyway, that aside, being open to scientific and extraterrestrial possibilities and can like bring scientists and AI into this is this can only be a good thing to explain away a lot of things, so we can debunk what's actually debunkable and focus on what is actually still a question mark. How do we have technologies that doesn't seem like man-made flying around, and not just in the air but submerged in the waters as well? So that's another thing. So the focus in 2024, well, this year, and what's left of it, is going to remain on transparency. That's going to carry over into 2025. It's going to aim to address public curiosity and national security concerns at the same time. So that's probably going to be a delicate balance. But, keep up with the news on this. There's going to be a lot more detailed accounts and updates from the media that we're going to be able to, regarding UAPs and UFOs, that we're going to be able to explore. I got curious as the hearings wound down. I wanted to look up and see what some of the, like in 2023, what were the most notable military reported phenomenon, and I found 10. Right, so I'll not go into every one of them, but there was the East Coast sighting in 2023 where Navy pilots reported spherical objects hovering in restricted airspace. There was a Pacific exercise that took place where UAPs disrupted naval training, performing maneuvers beyond known technology. That was another that came out. There's the Tic Tac shape. That's another recurring phenomenon. That was also spotted again in 2023 during military training, where these Tic Tacs exhibited such erratic movement, like turning on a dime at rapid speeds. It's just not possible. There was also a swarm of lights that was reported. Off the coast of California, Navy ships were shadowed by these luminous orbs. They had no explanation for them. And apparently, I mean, I'm sure they scrambled jets to go look, but this came back as one of the sightings that they could not explain. Also, high altitude drones. Air Force crews spotted unidentified drones over nuclear sites. That probably could be foreign entities, but that's awfully ballsy. Pushing the envelope. It could be the Russians, could be the Chinese, could be anybody. But who's to say that there aren't extraterrestrial entities out there that don't have drones as well, that can fly those down here unmanned for intelligence gathering as well, especially at crazy altitudes that I don't know how high our drones go. But anyway, those events highlight a lot of unexplained aerial behaviors and the national security concerns from 2023. The UAP sightings in the Pacific significantly disrupted U.S. naval training exercises from an article that I read. Crews observed fast-moving luminous objects displaying erratic flight patterns. These UAPs reportedly hovered near ships, and I'm reading this, including in restricted areas, and sometimes followed naval vessels. Pilots described the objects as capable of sharp directional changes and speeds beyond known human technology. Despite efforts to intercept or identify the phenomena, they vanished without explanation. Some encounters were captured on radar and infrared, fueling concerns about potential threats or surveillance. These incidents remain under investigation by military authorities. Since 2020, though, I did find out that the U.S. Air Force has had several encounters with unidentified anomalous phenomenon, UAPs, many of which remain unexplained. Here's a couple of notable ones from 2020 off the coast of California. Again, this is a lot of things happen off the coast of California, but Air Force personnel reported UAPs exhibiting erratic flight patterns near training zones. This is not to go along with last year's, but this is 2020. Pilots described the objects capable of instantaneous acceleration, abrupt directional changes, and sustained speeds beyond any known aircraft made by man. In 2021, there was Middle Eastern operations. Air Force MQ-9 drones recorded several UAPs during routine reconnaissance missions. One notable case involved an unidentified object moving rapidly with what appeared to be an atmospheric disturbance trailing it. Preliminary analysis suggested the object might have been a commercial aircraft, but the case remains unresolved due to limited data. And there was one other one I found. This was from 2022. Pacific operations near Guam. During nighttime operations, Air Force pilots observed UAPs displaying transmedium capabilities, moving seamlessly between air and water. These sightings raise concerns about potential advanced technologies known to the U.S. or unknown to the U.S. So that we've seen these things. There was one over, of course, 2023. There was another one from Arizona. I forgot to mention here, but I found my notes. Reports from Air Force bases near training areas detailed high-speed objects appearing on radar, but visually unidentifiable. These incidents were shared with the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, ARROW, for further investigation. Those MQ-9 drones also captured UAPs with unexplained behavior in South Asia, and they had infrared footage from those. And that in the behavior of these UAPs had like a lot of rapid movement and what they called cavitation effects. I'm not sure what that means, but some analysts theorize that these were artifacts that were caused by sensor compression, but no final conclusion, right? So people are still waiting on further details and information to make up their minds on these things. So a lot going on in the world of UFOs, folks. So who are they? Is this all just man-made stuff? Is this some big psyop? People have been seeing these things since Roswell, probably long before. There's actually a really interesting book that goes back talking about UFO sightings in the Bible. I mean, we're talking 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years ago, Old Testament. Interesting stuff. So, who are they? What do they want? Are they real? What are your thoughts on aliens and alien life? Are we alone in this galaxy, in this universe? Hard to tell. Anyway, it's really interesting stuff. I'm so fascinated with it, and I get to get on my Mulder and Scully kick today. So who knows? I might actually watch a couple episodes of the X-Files. Anyway, leave your thoughts in the comments section. What are your take on these sightings? Have you had any sightings or any experiences that you want to talk about? Whether it's using your name or anonymously, leave me a note. I'll be glad to read it on the next Gonzo, or maybe something I'll write about on my Substack. This is really fascinating stuff, folks. Thanks again for stopping by, and stay tuned. We'll have another episode of the Gonzo Chronicles coming soon. And I know it's been a while, but winding down the year, I'm going to start getting into a little bit more of a regular habit of, and probably a regular schedule of recording these Gonzo Chronicles and getting some guests back on here so we can talk about anything and everything that might interest you. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to stop by cyrusalderwood.substack.com. Subscribe. It's free. I've got some new posts up over the last couple of months, quite a few actually. So swing by, read some fun stuff, leave some comments. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you on down the road.